Welcome to Talk Easy English Podcast. My name is Paul, and I'm excited for this deep dive. We're going to be exploring a book that's enchanted readers for generations, haven't we, Emma?
I'm Emma. It's a pleasure to be here, as always. And you're right, Paul. The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry is a true classic.
Now, even if you think you know this story, I think we can uncover some hidden depths, some fascinating details.
Oh, absolutely.
And for those of you learning English with us, don't worry. We'll be speaking slowly and clearly, and we'll be sure to explain some of the trickier vocabulary as we go. Sound good?
Sounds perfect. This book is often seen as a children's story, isn't it? But the thing is, its themes, they really resonate deeply with adults as well. There's something so timeless about its exploration of life, love, and the power of imagination.
You know, it's a story that really makes you think, even if you read it as a child. And today, we'll be looking closely at the text itself. We'll be diving into key chapters and passages that really bring The Little Prince to life.
So, to set the scene, the story begins with our narrator, a pilot who finds himself stranded, doesn't he?
Yeah, he crashes.
In the Sahara Desert after his plane crashes. And he's practical, a bit disillusioned with the world maybe, finds himself surrounded by the vast emptiness of the desert.
He'd given up on his childhood dream, hadn't he?
What was that?
Of being an artist, because all the adults around him just didn't understand his drawings. He felt misunderstood, like his way of seeing the world just didn't fit in with their more practical, grown-up perspectives.
Yeah.
And then, bam, right.
It's in this setting, with this mindset, that he has this unexpected encounter with the Little Prince.
Yeah, this mysterious boy who appears seemingly out of nowhere.
Out of the blue.
And what's the Little Prince's first request?
Draw me a sheep.
Draw me a sheep. It's such a simple request, but it really sets the stage for everything that follows.
You know what I love about that part? It's the way the narrator really struggles to draw this sheep.
He does, doesn't he?
He's so used to the adult world, the world of logic and reason, that he's almost forgotten, how to tap into that childlike imagination.
He keeps sketching these different sheep, right? But the Little Prince just isn't satisfied. One is too old, another's too sickly. The Little Prince has this very specific image in his mind, and it clashes hilariously with the narrator's attempts.
It's true, isn't it? It makes you think about how we kind of lose that sense of wonder as we grow up.
Yeah,
We
definitely.
become so focused on the practicalities of life that we forget to see the world with fresh eyes.
Well, we learn that the Little Prince comes from a tiny planet,
Tiny.
asteroid B612. Imagine, a planet barely bigger than a house.
It's amazing.
And one of the things he's most worried about on this little planet are the baobabs.
The baobabs. Now, baobabs are these enormous trees.
They're huge.
And the Little Prince explains that if you don't pull up baobab shoots when they're small, they can grow so large that their roots can actually split a planet apart.
Wow. It's a powerful image, right? It makes me think about how important it is to pay attention to, like, the little things in life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we let these small problems fester, they can become overwhelming.
It's true. But it's not just about avoiding the negative, is it? I mean, the story also emphasizes the importance of caring for what's important to us, just like the Little Prince cares for his beloved rose.
Ah, yes, the rose. So she's this beautiful flower, right? Grows on the Little Prince's planet, but she can be a bit vain,
A little bit.
demanding, always wanting compliments, special attention.
Yeah. I mean, their relationship is complicated. It's far from simple, that's for sure. And it highlights the complexities of love and responsibility. I mean, the Little Prince clearly cares for his rose deeply, even though she can be frustrating at times.
So he leaves his rose behind to explore the universe.
Right.
And his journey takes him to a series of asteroids, each inhabited by a rather peculiar character.
Yes. You've got the king who believes he rules over everything,
Everything.
despite the fact that his planet is, well, tiny.
Minuscule.
Exactly. And then there's a conceited man who only wants to hear praise and admiration.
And of course, we can't forget the businessman, constantly counting stars and claiming ownership of them simply because he thought of it first.
He did. Each of these encounters, it just highlights the absurdity of some adult preoccupations, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. What's interesting, though, is that the Little Prince, he observes these characters with a sense of curiosity rather than judgment.
That's true.
He sees their flaws, but he also sees something endearing in their eccentricities.
He does.
Of all these characters, though, I think the one that stays with me the most is the lamplighter.
Oh, the lamp
He lives on this planet, right?
that spins so fast that he has to light his lamp and then extinguish it every minute.
I mean, he never gets a break, does he?
He doesn't. It's just this endless cycle of lighting and extinguishing. But you know what I find so powerful about it? It's that the lamplighter, he finds beauty, real beauty and meaning in this repetitive task.
He does.
He sees himself as this caretaker of the stars, someone who brings light to the darkness.
Yeah. It's such a contrast to those other characters, who are all focused on power or possessions or just appearances.
It's true.
The lamplighter reminds us that even in the most mundane tasks, we can find purpose and even joy. It's about how we choose to see our role in the world, isn't it?
It is.
It really makes you think about your own life, Are we like the businessman, chasing after things that ultimately don't matter? Or are we like the lamplighter, finding fulfillment in something simple but meaningful?
It's a question we all grapple with at some point, don't we? And The Little Prince gives us a chance to explore that question through the eyes of a child who sees the world with such clarity and honesty.
Yeah.
And speaking of searching for meaning, The Little Prince eventually lands on Earth.
Earth, this vast and diverse planet,
Yeah.
right? It must seem immense to him compared to his tiny asteroid.
Yeah.
Where does he end up?
Right in the heart of the Sahara Desert. A place that kind of mirrors that emptiness he's feeling inside, doesn't it?
It's a poignant parallel, isn't it? The vastness of the desert reflecting the little prince's, that inner landscape as he tries to navigate this new world.
And he feels so alone, surrounded by these endless sand dunes. And it's here that he has his first encounter with the snake.
Yeah. Yes. This isn't just any snake, is it?
No.
This is the snake whose words, they echo with mystery and foreshadowing. It
Right.
speaks in riddles and seems to have like this deep understanding of life, death, and the interconnectedness of everything.
And makes these pronouncements about power and, the ability to return anyone back to the earth from whence he came. What do you think? I mean, is the snake, is it a menacing figure or more of a guide, a symbol of transformation, maybe?
It's a great question. And I'm not sure there's like a simple answer, I mean, the snake's presence is unsettling, but it also feels like an integral part of the little prince's journey. And it definitely adds to the sense of mystery surrounding his fate.
Absolutely. And his experiences on Earth are full of contrasts. He encounters this simple flower, this flower with 3 petals, who tells him there are, very few men on Earth. They're constantly blown about by the wind. And then he climbs this high mountain, seeking a broader perspective. But all he finds are these sharp peaks and an echo that mocks his loneliness.
And then, I mean, talk about contrast. He stumbles upon a garden filled with roses, thousands of them. Can you imagine how that must have felt? Leaving his own rose behind, believing her to be unique, only to find an entire garden full of roses just like her.
I know. It's a heartbreaking moment of disillusionment, isn't it?
It is.
His rose had told him she was the only one of her kind in the entire universe. And now his whole understanding of their relationship, it's called into question.
He's crushed by this realization that his rose isn't as special as he thought.
I know. And he worries, doesn't he, about how she'd react if she saw these other roses, probably with these dramatic coughs and pronouncements of impending doom.
Right. It's funny, but there's also like this deep truth there, isn't there? He cares for his rose so much that he's willing to kind of play along with her act, even if it means overlooking the reality of the situation. It says a lot about the complexities of love and how we sometimes choose to see things the way our loved ones, need us to.
Absolutely.
But now he's lost, right? He's confused. And it's in this state of emotional turmoil that he meets the fox. This creature that teaches him, I think, one of the most important lessons in the entire story.
The meaning of taming.
Right. Now, when we think of taming, we usually think about domesticating animals, right?
Right.
But the fox, he presents a much deeper meaning.
Yeah.
It's about creating bonds, forging connections that make someone, or even something, special to you. It's about investing time and effort to build relationships that really matter.
And the fox explains that at first, the little prince was just like any other little boy to him. And he was just like any other fox. But through this act of taming, they become unique, irreplaceable to each other.
And the fox also emphasizes the importance of patience and ritual. He tells the little prince, it would be best to come back at the same hour each day. If, for example, you come at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, then at 3 o'clock, I shall begin to be happy. I shall feel happier and happier as the hour advances.
There's something so beautiful in that, isn't there? The anticipation, the routine, the way we can structure our lives to make space for joy and connection.
And then comes that famous line, this one. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. I mean, what a powerful statement.
It really is. And it's a reminder that, logic and reason can only take us so far. The
Right.
most important things in life, love, friendship, compassion, the feeling of being truly connected to someone, these are things we feel, not things we see.
Exactly.
And the fox connects this idea directly to the little prince's rose, doesn't he? He says, "It is the time you have wasted for your rose that makes your rose so important."
Even though there are thousands of other roses out there, the one the little prince left behind, she holds this special significance for him because of the time and care he's invested in their relationship.
That's it. He's learned to see her with his heart, not just his eyes.
And his journey continues, right?
It does.
He has a few more encounters before he returns to the pilot.
He does.
He meets this railway switchman who, sorts travelers into bundles of 1,000 and sends them off on trains that go right and left. Always in a hurry, but never seeming to know what they're searching for.
That's right.
And he encounters a merchant who's selling pills that, that quench thirst, eliminating the need to ever drink again.
It's amazing. All these encounters, they seem to just further emphasize the contrast between, the hurried, often meaningless pursuits of the adult world and the little prince's yearning for something more authentic, something more fulfilling.
It makes you think about what we prioritize in our own lives, doesn't it? Are we always chasing after efficiency and convenience? Or do we allow ourselves to savor those simple pleasures, the journeys that lead us to something truly meaningful?
And eventually he finds his way back to the pilot, doesn't he?
He does.
And they're desperately searching for water in that vast desert.
Yeah. And it's as if it's like their physical thirst. It mirrors a deeper longing, doesn't it?
It really does.
A thirst for meaning, for connection, something to quench the dryness of their souls.
And it's by, under a sky full of stars, the little prince reveals that tomorrow will be the anniversary of his arrival on Earth.
Oh, there's a sense of foreboding there, wouldn't you say? Almost as if he's preparing for something momentous, something that goes beyond a simple celebration.
I think so too. The pilot senses it too, doesn't he? He feels this growing unease, like a feeling that their time together is coming to an end.
And remember that snake we talked about earlier, the one with the cryptic pronouncements about power and returning to one's origins?
Yes.
Well, it turns out the little prince has made a plan with the snake
He has.
to help him return to his own planet. He believes it's the only way he can go back to his rose.
And the pilot, he's devastated by this news, isn't he?
He's heartbroken. He tries to convince the little prince to stay, but he's determined. He's determined to fulfill what he sees as his responsibility. He
Yeah.
feels this deep sense of loyalty to the rose that he left behind.
I know. And the little prince, he tries to comfort the pilot, doesn't he? He tells him to look at the stars and remember their laughter.
He says, "In one of the stars I shall be living. In one of them I shall be laughing. And so it will be as if all the stars were laughing. When you look at the sky at night, only you, will have stars that can laugh."
It's so beautiful and so heartbreaking at the same time.
It is.
He's offering the pilot a way to stay connected, to find solace in the vastness of the universe. But it doesn't erase the pain of their impending separation.
And the pilot, he actually witnesses the little prince's departure. He describes it as a silent fall, as gentle as a tree falling in the sand. And the next morning, when he searches for the little prince's body, he can't find it.
So it's left ambiguous, isn't it?
Yeah. Did he truly return to his planet?
Uh,
Was the snake's bite a form of transportation, a way to transcend those earthly limitations? Or was it a metaphor for something else entirely?
I don't know. I mean, the story doesn't give us definitive answers, does it?
No, it doesn't.
And I think that's part of its power, really. It invites us to contemplate these mysteries of life and death, the unseen connections that bind us together, even across those vast distances.
And the pilot is left, isn't he? He's left with his memories and his sorrow and a newfound appreciation, perhaps, for the stars.
Yeah.
He's left wondering, isn't he, about the fate of the rose. Did the sheep eat her? Or did little prince return in time to protect her?
It's a question that lingers, isn't it? A reminder that some things remain unknowable, even in a story as seemingly simple as The Little Prince.
Now, before we wrap up our deep dive into the Little Prince, let's take a moment to go over some of the vocabulary we've used today.
Okay.
I know some of these words might be new to our English learners, so we want to make sure everything is clear.
Good idea. Let's start with Let's start with baobab.
Okay.
Remember, that's the type of large tree that represents those small problems we need to address before they become overwhelming.
And then there's tame.
Ah.
Yes, tame.
As we learned from the fox, it's not just about, domesticating animals.
Well,
It's about building those meaningful connections with others.
absolutely. Okay, how about ephemeral? Ephemeral is a word that describes something, fleeting or short-lived, like the little prince's time on Earth.
And essential,
Yeah.
which refers to what's truly important, the things that are, invisible to the eye but can be felt with the heart. And we also talked about asteroids, those small rocky bodies that orbit the sun. And in The Little Prince, each asteroid represents a different world.
Right, and remember the volcanoes on the little prince's planet. She cleaned them out regularly to keep his tiny world safe.
You did?
And then there's geographer, which is a person who studies the Earth and its features. And the little prince met a geographer, didn't he? Who was fascinated by mountains and oceans.
That's right.
And the little prince described his rose as being coquettish, meaning she behaved in a flirtatious way to attract attention.
And the pilot showed forbearance when dealing with the little prince's demands, meaning he was patient and tolerant.
Yeah. And finally, remember how the little prince asked for a drawing of a sheep with a muzzle. That's the covering we put over an animal's snout to prevent it from biting.
Well, Paul, this has been a truly enlightening journey, I think, through The Little Prince. We've uncovered these layers of meaning, explored themes of love, loss, responsibility, and the importance of seeing with the heart.
Absolutely. It's a story that continues to resonate, I think, with readers of all ages, prompting us to look at the world with fresh eyes and to appreciate those simple yet profound truths it reveals.
And for those of you learning English out there, I would highly recommend, reading The Little Prince in its original language. It's a poetic work, and it will enrich your vocabulary and your understanding of human nature.
It will.
So as we leave the world of The Little Prince behind, I would encourage you to reflect on what resonated with you most. What did you learn from The Little Prince's journey? What will you take with you from this story?
And don't forget to subscribe to Talk Easy English Podcast. And hit that like button if you enjoyed our deep dive today. We'll be back next week with another fascinating topic, exploring language and ideas in a way that's engaging and accessible for English learners around the world.
Until next time, keep looking up at the stars, keep asking questions, and keep the spirit of The Little Prince alive in your heart.